So I'm not going to use any slides. I'm just going to.
Som, you are live.
That's fine,
Please stay
sir.
quiet.
That's fine.
Som, you are live. Please stay quiet.
Hey everyone, this is Aniket at TIE Bangalore. This is going to be a 1 hour session on two important critical topics around the IoT phenomenon. One will be about the IoT global investment landscape, both in the US and in India. And one will be presented by Choudhury, who's a partner at Bharat Innovation Fund. And another will be a topic on how we can raise the IoT quotient of India, presented by Arvind Tiwary, who will be talking about the IoT Next event and also a more global way of looking at the raising the IoT quotient of India. So without further ado, let me just introduce Som and let him take over. So please go ahead.
Great. So should we get started? How many people have joined the Hangout?
Just tell you.
Should we give them a few minutes to join?
So as of now, we have 14 people watching.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give them a few minutes. We have 14
Okay,
people
sounds
watching.
good. So guys, we'll give a few more minutes. I think we'll get started in another few minutes or so.
Right, so we have 16 people as of now. I think we can get started. What do you say, Som?
Okay, I'm just waiting for 6:05 to get started. Another.
Okay, sure. No issues.
Yeah. And how many people had registered?
So we had 69 people who were registered. Okay, it's 18.
You might want to quickly, is there a way to quickly update them to join the Hangout? Just notify them that we are getting started.
So I had sent them a Google Hangout. I had sent them a Google invite.
Okay. So good. Let's get started then. So everybody, my name is Choudhury. I'm a partner at Bharat Innovation Fund, and I work closely with TIE Bangalore and the Indian Electronic Semiconductor Association on the IoT Forum, and I'm a co-chair for the IoT Next conference as well, which is coming up on 30th and 31st October. Arvind Tiwary, who's the chairperson for IoT Forum, will be talking more about what to expect on IoT Next and the overall raising the IoT quotient of India. Just to give you a quick background, I was an MD of Analog Devices before this. I had my own IoT startup. We never called it IoT back then. It was an M2M startup in the energy management smart grid sector, way long back. So IoT is not new, right? So what I would like to try in next 15, 20 minutes, what I'd like to try and give you a perspective of the landscape of IoT investments we see globally and in India, right? Just a to get started, I just want to ensure that we understand the typical classification of IoT startups. I typically classify, and anytime I talk about investments and so forth, I would kind of come back to these form of classification of categorization of IoT. So one category is just the vertically focused solutions, bringing the nuggets of IoT infrastructure together from sensor to the cloud and providing an end-to-end IoT-enabled solution for specific vertical markets, right? And this you can classify under industrial, it can be further classified under manufacturing, logistics, etc., smart homes, consumer IoT, agriculture, healthcare, retail, automotive, blah, blah, right? Then the second category is more about IoT infrastructure solutions. So these are more horizontal core technologies, platforms, from sensors to the cloud, more enabling solutions for multiple industries. And out here, you are going to be seeing sensors, microcontrollers, companies like iNEDA Systems, Ambic Micro. You're going to see edge computing nodes, AI, ML, networking chips, and so forth. IoT security would fall under IoT infrastructure segment. Networking technologies, blockchain light use in IoT. And of course, the plethora of development platforms, end-to-end IoT platforms, analytical platforms, open source platforms. Again, so just to be clear, there are two aspects from an IoT investment thesis standpoint. One is more vertically focused, a bit of a systems integration play involved, right? Focused on a very specific vertical market. And the second is more the IoT infrastructure, more core horizontal technologies from sensors to the cloud, enabling multiple industries, right? So I would request you to look at a couple of articles that Arvind, we have written. They are posted on my LinkedIn website. It talks about how IoT is getting categorized, what is going on in the industry, a lot of M&A, investments, acquisitions, and so forth stories are out there. Right? So while I'll give you a gist, some of the articles are a bit outdated, but you will get a much comprehensive view once you read through, and you could relate to what I'm talking about today much better. Right? So these are all posted on my LinkedIn. Now, what I'm going to try to do is talk about the overall sentiment of IoT more from an investor's perspective, right? Now, if you see, there's a plethora of new IoT startups got formed between 2010 and 2015. Several companies, in fact, many of the industrial ones have been rechristened from calling them as IoT companies. They've been running proprietary systems, proprietary IoT systems, maybe from 20 years back. Robotics companies, especially which were running for ages, suddenly found tremendous traction and investment in the last 5-7 years. Wearables and smart homes were very hot with Fitbit and Google's acquisition of Nest in 2014 timeframe. But investors, frankly, have moved beyond, and many of these startups actually have faltered as well. The interesting aspect, you will see that the landscape is very, very global as compared to what we had seen previously with any emerging technologies. Historically, technologies, new solutions pretty much started from US, that too primarily from Silicon Valley. And then the other regions kind of picked up. So this actually happened. The IoT infrastructure piece, the core technology piece is still mostly from the Valley. Some, of course, in Europe. The security piece, the vision analytics piece is coming from Israel. But if you look at the typical vertical solutions for IoT, these are much more global in nature. There are IoT companies spread all over the world now. Similar companies in different regions. They see early traction in local markets. Many of them are Me Too's. They are essentially plugging in the sensor, the networking piece, the cloud platforms kind of together and providing a solution. But as these guys are Me Too's, because of relationships and so forth, they might get into the local markets pretty easily, but they are having difficulty scaling beyond their current smaller size markets. Now, if you look at the challenges most of these startups are facing, right? IoT verticalized solution companies, they are obviously picking up sensor node, gateway, building or taking an IoT platform and putting up a solution together. This is essentially systems integration. Now, obviously the investors, when we approach see these kind of IoT companies, we need to see some kind of defensible fort or moat, or some kind of a rapid scale up. Or there has to be some deep domain specific analytics, ML, that is hard to replicate. So for many of these verticalized IoT solutions companies, sometimes we just see, or most of the investors see them as Me Too's without any specific aspect to, make them stand out. And as we kind of start comparing with other companies in other geos, it just seems to be a Me Too. And that is probably most of the investors in the IoT domain are essentially saying the same stuff, right? Now, obviously, a lot of IoT companies started building out their own platforms in the last 4-5 years. Many platform acquisitions have happened. In fact, last 2 years back, the platform acquisition was a big rage. But now, it is only later stage investments in companies, in platform companies and analytics platform companies like Uptake, C3 IoT, Site Machine is happening, right? In parallel, obviously, Azure, Amazon are pretty formidable platforms now. And most startups are using their IoT nuggets. So if you're focused on more of a vertical solution play, it just does not make sense to build and maintain the proprietary platforms, especially if you're offering a verticalized solution. You'd rather focus on the customer solution, building on top of something yourself. Obviously, on the horizontal infrastructure side, there are still very healthy investment scenario. The number of technology solutions, they are still being invested on. 2017 was one of the highest ones. Security, IoT security is a big play. 2017 probably saw the largest investments in IoT security. Edge fog platform companies, integration with blockchain light, multiple companies are getting funded. A bunch of plethora of companies in the AI, ML, computing nodes at the edge, low power solutions, new innovative sensor technologies, energy harvesting. So these are more technologies coming more from a core technology side, horizontal side, right? So IoT funding, if you see, and this is, I'm talking about globally and more so in the Valley. I just came back after 6 weeks in the Valley. Most of the investors I talked to, they've kind of shifted more towards the later stage, except for the ones I mentioned just before: security, edge fog platform, integration with the blockchain light, AI, ML computing nodes, sensors, energy harvesting. Besides that, especially on the verticalized IoT solutions, it seems like most of the funding has shifted over to the later stage. So you will see the quantum of funding has probably gone up, but the number of deals has gone down. And we started seeing this trend in the consumer segment probably from 2016, 15, 16 timeframe. It happened in the industrial IoT probably late 2017, early 2018 as well, right? So essentially what the investors are saying, that given the nature of verticalized industrial solution, I would rather kind of put my money into the later stage where I see a lot of traction from these companies, right? Now, frankly speaking, on the industrial IoT side, which holds the biggest promise, things have been slow. And in fact, it's super slow. Many investors I talk to are a bit disillusioned with industrial IoT. So I was talking with a very prominent corporate VC in Bay Area, and he echoed essentially my thoughts. The uptake on industrial IoT has been slow. Pilots are happening, but full-fledged deployment, it seems like it's taking ages. Other piece is, this is especially on the manufacturing side, it's more custom projects. I was talking with a company called RelayR that was funded by Munich Re and now acquired by Munich Re. So these guys today have 200 200% systems integration team out there. The challenge many of these guys face is a no single size fits all. You have to go from one factory to another. It's a different problem. You have to go from, if you are trying to do defect detection in one factory or even in a single line, as soon as you go to the second factory, to a second line, it's a different problem. So a lot of systems integration is in play. And unfortunately, the typical channels, the AMC contractors, the systems integrators, they are still not geared up to take a horizontal platform solution and customize for different needs. And this is again a classic example for early stage solutions and technologies. The channel is not ready. The startups are trying to do everything themselves. They're going in, doing the first pilot in a factory. The second pilot is drastically different. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes resources. And that's why this entire uptake, especially on the industrial IoT side, has been a bit much slower than originally expected. Inshore tech is picking up, right? You will see guys like Munich Re, Harvard West, they're acquiring companies left and right. Consumer IoT has been the historic upstart. Huge hoopla with wearables, but frankly speaking, that entire piece has a bit died down because many of these companies have faltered. The smart home was kind of a lukewarm nest, but essentially got a lifeline with voice control Alexa and Google. But the commercial ones, the commercial building automation pieces are doing extremely well. Enlighten just got acquired by Siemens Building Technologies as well. As I mentioned, platform was a rage, but now it seems like things have stabilized a bit. Winners have been picked, but I still feel there is a space for verticalized platforms with minimal coding, drag and drop functionality. There is a space because a lot of these guys in the industrial world and so forth, they will not have the acumen and the software piece to code on a platform. So the easier, more verticalized you make it, that's an opportunity. Predictive analytics is a huge play, right, in the industrial IoT domain. So companies like Uptake, Sight Machine, C3 IoT, Infinite Uptime, they're doing very well. Hardware and software combination solutions are struggling a bit. Companies like Augury in Israel, BetaSense, Machine Sense, they're fighting it out along with the guys like Fluke, ABB, and so forth. So frankly speaking, you know, as an investor, right, if you ask for an investor sentiment for IoT, so what would an IoT investor look for? So one piece is for verticalized solutions, right? Either kind of a rapid scaling up with the right channel strategy to scale up, or some kind of differentiated, very domain-specific forts and modes. You should be, I mean, as a startup focused in this market, there probably has to be more razor-sharp, niche-focused. Find a vertical solution use case that is pretty decent market size, build the domain expertise around it, build some analytics forts and modes around it, and find the right partners for GTM, right? I'll give you a classic example. From our incubator Center of Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship, I am Ahmedabad. Bharat Innovation Fund is an affiliated fund to them. So from this incubator accelerator, we had funded a company called Detect Technologies, based out of IIT Chennai. It's an ultrasound-based corrosion and leakage detection in the oil sector, right? Oil and gas sector. It's a humongously large market. It's a serious pain point in terms of corrosion and leakage. And these guys have great traction with large oil majors now, right? So obviously these guys are getting a lot of significant interest now from the top investors. Same thing like what Flutura did. They went in razor sharp focused on a specific oil and gas market. They developed a lot of experience and domain specific knowledge about this market. And today they are partners with Siemens, partners with Hitachi, and doing pretty well, raised around $10 million of funding. Right? What is the other alternative? The other alternative is focusing on the core technologies, right? So building on top of core technology nuggets that can scale across multiple IoT solution providers. It could be security, it could be networking piece, efficient computing nodes, more horizontal platforms, but I think the time for horizontal platforms is up. Maybe more fog edge computing related platforms, which is big in the investment right now. So at the end of the day, think about this IoT. The deployment of IoT is still very much like IT. IT nuggets came in, right? Databases came in, cloud layers came in, security came in. These are all core tech components. But then there was a significant systems for the in which a lot of these IT houses in India excel. With the core technologies developed, it still took decades for corporates to adopt and deploy their IT solutions. So we will probably see the same for IoT. It's still early, but the digital transformation wave has started and will continue for the next decade, right? Now, as I have mentioned, the go-to-market, and I think for all of us startups in India, we have to have a very razor-sharp focus towards the go-to-market. That's a significant challenge. No surprises here, though. In early stage of any new technology, any new solution adoption, the channels are not ready. The channels are laggards, right? Especially in the industrial world, you do this is a market where you have smaller size regional systems integrators, AMC contractors. Reaching them, educating them is quite a challenge. So most of the startups, you kind of start to do it yourself. You do the pilots yourself. But still, this doesn't become a scalable model. Lining up the right partners is a pretty important piece. I want to kind of touch on the exit scenarios. I have written a couple of articles on my LinkedIn, a bit outdated, but you could see what kind of happening from an exit standpoint. So a lot of acqui-hires, so less than 15, 20, 30 million are getting acquired primarily because of the talent base, right? A lot of mini acquisitions are happening. These are not the typical traditional, large acquisitions which have been done by the Cisco's, Intel's, Google's of the world. Many traditional corporates, they kind of see their businesses getting kind of disrupted with IoT. So many of these traditional guys, even hospital chains, oil and gas companies, utility companies are acquiring a lot of IoT companies. I call them kind of mini acquisitions, right? Large acquisitions, IPOs are kind of still rare in the IoT space. iRhythm Tech, Impinj, they probably went IPO in the late 2016, kind of in the 500 to 1 billion kind of valuation. We saw Itron acquiring Silver Spring, Siemens acquiring Enlighted, Nokia acquiring Space-Time Insights, Osram in the lighting space acquiring Digital Lumens. So there are larger size acquisitions, but I think majority of the 100 plus acquisitions, and I have written this article out there, have been primarily from the traditional corporates. Now, if I were an IoT startup today, right, so I would kind of think about, and especially if you are in the verticalized solution play, right, you try to get some early revenue and traction and then warming up to the corporates in those specific sectors or a potential acquisition play. It's a more of a dating game. You want to keep them informed, see what kind of stuff is going on, developing the relationship, and it takes, frankly speaking, ages to get things kind of acquired, right? So we are hosting a masterclass prepping up for M&A at the first day of the IoT conference, right? There's a lot of different companies, different VCs. I'm not going to go over them. A lot of corporate VCs have come in investing in the IoT startups play. Qualcomm Ventures, New Enterprise, NEA, Cisco Ventures, GE Ventures have invested. Then if I step onto the IoT landscape in India, frankly speaking, yeah.
Just want to give you a tiny reminder that if you have a minute left, so we can wrap up. We can.
Yes. I will start to wrap up. I'll just cover very quickly on the India piece. Just give me 3 to 5 minutes. So companies in India are more of a solutions play, right? Very few IoT infrastructure companies. Interestingly, partners in my previous fund, Infuse Ventures, are one of the early starters in the IoT space. Companies like Altizon, almost 6 million funded in the IoT platform space. Sylvan Automation, $few million in revenue, the leader in India home automation. Equilibrium Energy, RE Connect Energy, were all kind of early IoT startups who had Infuse Ventures had invested in. But since then, there have been several other investors have joined the bandwagon. Few classic examples, obviously, was Choudhury, a verticalized analytics platform for the oil and gas sector. Raised 10 million, partners with Hitachi Siemens, Covaxis have raised funding. Stella Apps recently got raised almost a 17.3 million in the dairy sector. Arvind Vasu, who is an investor from ABB, he describes this as a Fitbit for cows, right? Logistics companies like Loconav, Rivigo, automotive area, iTrans, Eigen Technologies in the smart lighting space have all been invested in, right? And we are starting to see a number of acquisitions also kind of play in. Paytm acquired Cube26, Mostrip acquired Maven, Happiest Minds acquired Cupola. These are, I'm talking about Indian acquisitions, right? TVS acquired Red Sun Telematics. A US company called Livingo acquired the diabetics company Diabeto, right? Multiple such stuff is starting to happen. So again, guys, my time is running out, but this is more of a landscape view of what is happening from an investment standpoint, from an acquisition standpoint, both globally and in India. And this is kind of how the investors are looking it forward. They're more focusing, especially if it's a verticalized platform. They have invested rapidly in the last 4 years. Now towards the later stage investments, the core technology pieces of security, edge computing, sensor technologies, energy harvesting, networking technologies are still very much on. So I will stop out here. So after post Arvind's talk, we will open it up for questions. So over to you.
Okay.
Aniket.
Thank you so much, Som. I'm now opening up the floor to Arvind. Arvind, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, guys. Can you hear me? And I hope you can see the slide I have. I will walk through the slides for a second. Can you please mute your microphone so that there is less noise? Okay. So assuming you can hear me and assuming you can see the slides, let me just start talking and walk you through the thing that we have. Okay. So basically at IoT Next 2017, we had announced the need to look at raising the IoT quotient of India. We already have about 900 startups. About 500 of them are 3 years or more older, and it's time to look at going forward. So in this presentation, I think Som has presented, we need to look at depth. You need to be more technical because people need to see depth to invest, and you also need to have a longer runway. VCs and fund managers are looking at a later stage. So in this talk, we will give some hints about how to do depth and runway.
Sorry, Arvind, I don't think we can see your slides.
One minute. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for that. So we will talk about the basics, how the workshops will run, and then I will cover a quick view of the industrial, the edge, the IoT blockchain, and then we will take question answer. One of the important things to understand is, depending on the outlook you have, you can focus on here and now, and we will talk of LP1 and smart city, or you can look at forward looking, which is the disruption in financial services that Nandan talked about at TIE Leapfrog, or the first exhibition of IoT Next at IoT Next 2015. IoT, the India Stack was launched publicly at that stage, and we have talked. So some of you wanting a deeper dive can go to the workshop landing page. You will see the slides. So the basics of the workshops and masterclass are, they will all start at 10 at different locations. Please be there by 10:15. We have a long schedule. We will not wait. You will miss some of your events if you're late. Some of them are at corporate head offices, so the security check is also there. So be there a little early. We will assign some facilitators to each workshop. And once you register, if you have questions, they will answer it. They will be in touch with you. They will also help you in preparing. So if you need to bring a laptop or a Linux machine, they will help you. If you need to have Node.js, if you need to be trained on something, you're not there, they will help you in pointing to training places you can go. In certain concepts on blockchain, they will run a webinar and they will talk you through different types of blockchain so that you're better prepared to maximize the IoT workshop. And pre-install the software, check the kit. In many workshops at CII and others, we have found that it takes 1 or 2 hours of lost time configuring things. So we want to avoid that so that you get maximum bang for the money you have paid. So please cooperate with us as we do the pre-installation. Sometimes everyone may not have the hardware you have, especially Windows proves to be very difficult. Different versions, some things work, don't work. So the organizers and the facilitators will club you into teams. For the Tata Communication LP1, they are providing kits for each team of 4. So that's easy. But for sometimes there are not enough kits, like TechBox doesn't have 10 kits to share. So they will use 1 or 2 kits and you will work off them. So the facilitators will put you in teams and work out with us so that you get hands-on. So we will try to make sure all of you get hands-on and it is a good experience. Let me turn to the first set, which is industrial IoT. This is where there is a lot of tech. Investors also do, and there is a lot of enterprises willing to do. So there are three workshops, and you can choose the one which works for you. Let me start with the first one, which is developing business case and ROI. Many SMEs and even large companies like Marico, etc., have had issues deciding what projects to do. So there are lots of use cases. Then if you call in the big consultant like Pricewaterhouse and EY, they suggest $1 million big projects and they're not comfortable. So they need small pilots to do it. So Flutura, which has done a lot of it and has been funded well, 7 million. They have done a lot in oil and gas out of Dallas, Texas. Derek will come in and he will talk about how to help customers who are SMEs or large corporations think through their use cases in industrial IoT, how to convert them to business case, how to impute some ROI, and how to help them prioritize and give a pilot to do. And pilots are the best way for startups to win a project. You want around $100,000 project, 3 to 6 months, quick win, and you will learn, they will learn, and you can then build a relationship and go. And that type of spend is very easy for most companies to do. So it's much easier to get that going. To make this live, I have invited Yogesh Jope, who is the CEO of Kalyani Technologies and Bharat. And you must be aware, they are one of the most international Indian company. They are listed and they have 7 or 8 companies they have bought, 3 in Germany, 2 in Canada and all that. And they are very, very well plugged into the global supply chain, one of the largest forging operations in the world. Yogesh is very hands-on and he's very, very nice. I had a long chat with him. He's also interested in talking to startups. He will get involved with IoT Forum, but he will be there. He will also share with you how they have approached the industrialization, what they have done, and what opportunities they are looking to. Similarly, I have Jagdish Ramaswamy, who is the Chief Digital Officer at Hindalco. Again, Hindalco is a large listed company, aluminum, but they've also bought a large Canadian operation and they're also very globalized and he's pretty big user of Rockwell and all that. He will also come in and he's also interested in talking to startups and partnering with IoT Forum for future. So this is the end user connect we are building up to help startups like you get more business. And hopefully we will have Mariko also coming in. So he will also speak for about 20 to 30 minutes about their scenario, their use case, and they will also explore with Derek his framework, etc. After that, they will talk to the startup community, what works, what doesn't work. So you will have a very powerful session of 2 users, 1 supplier, what works in industrial IoT, and an exploration of how to sell and what works, what doesn't work. And I would recommend the entrepreneurs who are interested to develop a business case in industrial IoT to grab it. This workshop is at Derby. We have a large facility. We can handle about 90 people. So please feel free to come in. For those who are more oriented towards the engineering, making it work, the middle one, which is Next IoT, is a hands-on workshop. So in industrial IoT, there are 20 protocols, there are PLC, there is SCADA, Modbus, etc. And it's quite a hassle. If you're not new, you will waste a lot of time trying to make it work, and a lot of it is not documented. So Next IoT will walk you through, and they will actually show you universal gateways, how to plug into PLC, SCADA, Modbus, and they will help you understand a lot of it. They will also take something which is very crucial for industrial IoT, which is security. So industrial IoT, PLC, SCADA, and all these were built in an age where it was a secure internet. So there is no much login or no much supervisory things in PLC, SCADA. So how do you build a facade? How do you build high-level security on that? That's an important part of the problem. And the pathway to connectivity will handle this. For those of you who are actually trying to build industrial solutions, this would be very good, and I would encourage you to book for that. For those of you who are more interested in a business understanding, I think the work being done by TagBox will be very interesting. You know, logistics is a very hot market. Rivalgo, BlackBerry, they have got some $300–400 million of VC investment. Even TagBox has got some money from Indian Angel and others. This is a very, very exciting money from investors, but it's not about technology, but business case. There is a surprising complexity in the flow of goods, shipments, logistics, intra-city, middle city, and e-commerce, etc. What Adarsh will do in this, he's a CEO there, he will walk you through a very deep dive on a supply chain. He's going to take glass, Shahi glass type of customers, and how do you deliver glass in time to different places. Mostly it's an industrial workshop, factory, forging work, etc. And you also have to make sure that it doesn't get damaged and it reaches in time and it doesn't cost you too much to replace if something happens and on time. So very, very intricate. And he will also share with you, as a part of the thing, they will have the TagBox machines. You will configure the sensors and you will program a bit. And he will share with you the type of dashboards and things that customers see. So you'll get a really good hands-on experience of use cases. So it's a very good summary. Conceptual, how to sell. Operational, how to develop. And use case oriented, what are the complications in a use case? So depending on what you choose, you will get a fantastic overview of industrial IoT. The next one we are talking about is forward thinking. IoT and blockchain. Now, blockchain is hyped, IoT. So this is a very interesting program, and you should really, if you're forward-looking, and this is something like 2 to 3 years out, but you would build an enormous school. So there's an Indian startup called Discovery IoT, which has been funded by Kleiner Perkins and all that, which is building a blockchain-based distributed network. There is a company called Definity, which Anderson Horowitz, etc., have invested 135 million building a world computer, and it's mentioned in the articles I've done. Helium is another company where there's a significant investment from Vinod Khoshla, which is an interesting one, which is building a zero energy peer-to-peer network. So they have these blockchain-based nodes. They communicate with each other at very low energy, almost low cost energy, and they send messages all across. It's an extraordinarily innovative distributed mesh network. It will completely challenge IEEE, and if it works, it will be a huge change to 5G, etc., because this is very low cost energy, very low cost power, but effective. So we have selected IOTA, which is from the German foundation, and it's a version 2 of the distributed ledger technology. The blockchain itself cannot work on all the nodes. You need terabytes, gigabytes of the data, and the compute capacity, it takes 10 minutes and all that. So this is what is called a hash graph or a directed acyclical graph, DAG based thing. It's much faster, it takes much less. The German foundation are coming. Do attend the workshop. You will have a good introduction in the beginning and hands-on. And we want to set up a community. We are looking at the government of Karnataka Smart City Mission to use this in a pilot project for air pollution. At the conference itself, we are hoping that Azim Premji Foundation will come in and they will announce the funding for a blockchain and IOTA-based open data portal for Bangalore City, where we will do some pilots around. So we are very keen to get this in practice in IOTA, and this is a good way to get some expertise. Now let's move to the next major theme, which is edge and connectivity. I'm not sure if you're aware, but about $1 billion of VC investment has gone in edge and low IoT connectivity. So the early part is LP1, low power wide area network. About 2 or 3 years ago, IoT Forum had a long issue with DOT and TRAI to get sub-licensed, unlicensed sub-gigahertz done, and it has happened. It's been difficult, but it is so successful. LP1 is so successful, and if you look at global implementations of IoT in the public space, the dominant technology is LP1. It's not 3G, it's not 4G, it's not Wi-Fi. It is such a big threat that 3GPP is now coming with NB-IoT and 5G to cater, but I think the dominant, those are very complex things. Despite the hype, they may be 3 to 5 years away, and it requires a lot of investments, which telecom companies may be challenged to do. As of now, LPWAN is being used in 6 smart cities in India, and TCL and Senra is also an American, have it live. So right now, this is a good place for you to learn, and this Tata Communication will provide the kit, etc. They're doing it in Coromandel. So grab it if you're interested in a here and now opportunity. Going forward, in about 3 years' time, 5G will start rolling out. Now, 5G is not a standard. It's a complete network operating system. It's like a Windows 2 to Windows 3. It will take 5-6 years to come. But there's a large part of 5G, which is not about video streaming and high bandwidth, but which is about IoT. And they are talking of use cases which will astound you. They are talking of a base station able to handle around 75 to 1 lakh devices. Why? Because if you do smart city, if you do smart meter, smart lighting, in a kilometer, Montero or Barcelona run around 35 to 40,000 devices. So the base station right now maxes out. 3G, 4G, they collapse. And LP1 can handle about 15 to 20,000 to a base station, and you put in multiple base stations. And then they also have millisecond latency. So you can connect within milliseconds, not like 3G where it takes a long time. And a lot of technology like beamforming, so efficiency of power and millimeter wave. So there's a lot of technology. Many of these will be challenges in engineering. It's time for you to understand it. At IoT Day in March, we will run a workshop, femtocell and all that. But right now, this is a conceptual workshop, and we will have the IEEE people who are involved in the international. There is an international 5G board, 5G, IEEE, and 3GPP. Some of those folks are involved. It will be a good introduction. It's a good master class. For those who are looking at a more innovative thing, one of the things is to do edge computing. Now, edge computing is becoming very, very popular, and a lot of NVIDIA, everyone is developing edge. So artificial intelligence training will happen on the cloud, but operation happens on the edge device. And you do it at less power. You don't need 40 watts to run. On the edge devices, people are running on a watt and half a watt. There's a startup out of Microsoft Research in Bangalore, which has run AlexNet sort of a thing, which needs around 400 megawatt on NVIDIA. It runs it around 200 kilobyte and runs it on Raspberry Pi or smaller machines. So edge device is very important. Sound is a very big thing, and Hacks in his report talks about sound as the next step. So a squared IoT will teach you how to use sound. And in industrial IoT, it is about sensing the device is not working, etc. And also text to speech. So you speak, it commands text and all that. So that's an interesting case of an edge-based device which does the job. It will open you how to do edge-based things for future. Now, the next one, which Som talked about a little, is M&A. Now, this is a slightly important thing, and many startups I've spoken to personally are interested, but it's an emotional issue. As a startup, you have an entrepreneur, you have set up a company, and you're always optimistic. And unless you're optimistic, you can't be a startup. Things are never smooth, and it goes up and down. You get an order, something gets delayed. It's very difficult to realize when you should look at an organic exit. And on the right, you can see TVS Living have bought Konavit, which is Bahubali Sheth, who is a good friend of mine. So he had an initial investment from Steve Wozniak, founder of Apple. He put in money in his previous company, but he moved on to Binatone. It didn't work out. He's come out, and this is the whole point in M&A. It's a journey of the entrepreneur. Your product, your company may not survive. The M&A guy may not run it the way you want, but you as an entrepreneur get a second innings. You can come back and play at a T20 or a World Cup later once you have regrouped. So Konavit, Bahubali Sheth came out and he set up a speech-based kitchen thing, iClove, and he's got funding. He's in the US. He's doing well. So I would recommend all of you to seriously think. Out of the 1,300, about 500, about 30 of them are good. Run rate is around 10 million or more, probably IPO large. About 100 of them are cash flow positive. You're doing well. About 300 of them unlikely to survive, very difficult. So we have to think. It takes about a year to prepare for hardware exits. It's not easy. And if you exit in a hurry, you will lose valuation. The buyer will extract too much and you will be feeling well. But if you prepare well, which is what we are advising you, as IoT Forum, we want to protect your interests. So we are recommending you, it's not necessarily a choice, but start planning option B. Option B means getting the best valuation from an M&A. In Silicon Valley, typically people get $1 million per employee. I don't think we are that lucky in India. But if you could move from 100K US to about 500K, I think it will do a lot of good. So this is, we are running this workshop. So the Palanca partners from the US are coming. And we also are covering this in the conference. And I would recommend all of you, get rid of emotion, be pragmatic, think of plan B, and show up. And if you need more help, personal coaching, etc., call me. I'm here. We are here to help you. Now, the final range is the diversity. And this is outside. So usage of drones. I think you must have heard of Digital Sky. DGCA has come up with a new policy and government policy. They're trying to be open. And there is a certification for DGCA. We're working with them to make it third party, private party. So you will have Arav Unmanned talk about how to use drones and different enterprises. They cannot fly a drone because the law doesn't allow you to fly, but they will show you. They will have some stuff you will learn, you will see, and you will understand how to use drones and develop a model of how to do drone-based thing. For those of you interested, later in November, the government of Karnataka is holding the largest drone competition at Palace Ground. So you will get prepared. You can go to the Palace Ground and compete. The final one is a very interesting, capture the flag. Many of you may have heard me talk about fresh thinking in security, which is about the fact that current security standards do not work and you need to change different. So capture the flag will teach you how to be a white hat hacker, how to penetrate. So in IoT security, you have to have the red team, which penetrates, and the blue team, which protects, and the purple team, which does but. The real need is in red team. We need a lot of red teams to penetrate, to test, and to make it possible. And this will teach you how to do pen test, capture, etc. And this doesn't require too much skill. The spectators will give you the hardware. They will teach you. It's over 2 days. You will learn a lot. It's a small group. We can't take more than 25, 30 people. But those who are serious, I would suggest you opt for that. I think I am done. Here are the contacts. There is an email you can write. We have a website. We have a Twitter. We have Telegram groups, and there's a channel, and there's a Telegram group. Please join it. We will answer your questions and do what you want. With that, I am done. Now we will take some questions. All right, Aniket. Just shoot the questions and we will answer that.
Okay, thank you for that, so Arvind. So there's one question, which is about how do you think IoT can affect or can be used in B2B sales?
There are various ways in which you can do B2B sales. So there are 3 or 4 ways to do it. One is raising the revenue line. So I call it ad tech. So in many retail shops, in many places, you can instrument the retail shop or you can instrument the customer experience. So if you're an enterprise, you can instrument the way employees come in, they get recognized, they go to a place to eat food. So you can instrument the experience of the employees or the consumers who come in. That is in the front end. You can also decrease the cost and supply at the back end. So logistics is a big way you can decrease the quality of time to come in and do. And if you put enough sensors and you capture the data, you can bring in artificial intelligence, you can do tremendous. So I'll give you 2 examples of enterprise sales. I don't know if you have heard of Covansys. It's an IoT platform, industrial IoT. They went into a Reliance digital shop. They did the project for free. They wanted to recover. Within 6 months, they instrumented the shop floor. This is a showroom from which they are shipping digital goods to the Reliance shops. Within 6 months, they were able to show a 12% decrease in cost and a 6% increase in shipping up. And that was an eye opener for a world class organization like Reliance. ISO 9000, CMM4, all those processes barely give you 1 or 2% improvement. It needs a lot of effort and people. Here was hard tech doing it. So, same thing in agri-tech. Productivity in a farm which is instrumented and managed well is 4 to 6 times more. So there are a lot of places in clinical farming which is controlled for supply to pharmaceuticals, etc. In this, you can do a lot of things. Does that answer?
Yes, I think that answers. So, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I guess we covered mostly. Arvind covered. I would just like to add that B2B sales is a pretty wide, diverse area, right? So I'm sure the person who's asking the question wanted a more specific, or they had a very intent for a very specific question. But again, I mean, ask them to just drop us a line with a very more specific piece, and we would be able to articulate this better. But I think whatever Arvind said about the overall to increase revenue or reduce down the cost, optimize logistics, optimize all of these other aspects of sales, right? That's what IoT is all about. I mean, frankly speaking, you either kind of increase the top line or improve your efficiency by reducing down or increasing your bottom line.
Okay, perfect. I think that covers it, both of you. I have shared links for the workshops and the conference in the TIE Bangalore response area chat box. So if any of you guys are interested, please go ahead and check it out. From our end, this covers the session. I'd like to thank Arvind and Som for giving us the time and telling us about this interesting area. Thank you both.
And we'd like to also request, given that spread the word around about this IoT conference, IoT Next conference, and the workshops.
Yes.
What you guys heard, use hashtag IoT Next, or just tag us with @IoT Next, and talk on your LinkedIn and Twitter feeds as well. What you guys have learned today.
Yes, that would be much appreciated.
Me and Arvind, we are available anytime. Just reach out to us, link out to us on our Twitter feeds and LinkedIn as well.
Okay, well, thank you everyone coming to this session. That concludes the end of this, and see you all.